New 2021 Subaru Outback, the sixth generation of what began as a mad science experiment with the Liberty wagon way back in 1994. I'm here at the end of a week in the Poverty Pack 2021 Outback, and I'm about to swap to the high-spec Outback Touring. So, what's it really like, and is this vehicle a contender for you? Here's my initial assessment. I'm John Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au, and I get new cars cheap for buyers here in Australia. Website for that, obviously, or you can just click the card that's, up there now, dude. This report is sponsored by OLIGHT, which makes awesome flashlights. Get up to 30% off the OLIGHT Warrior X Pro, Warrior M2R Pro and Baton 3 limited edition torches from 8 PM tonight until midnight tomorrow, simply because I love you. And that means so does OLIGHT. Link in the description. More on that later. So, I'm being completely facetious here, referring to this car as poverty in any way. That's simply a piece of insider slang. The entry-level model is always called the Poverty Pack in every range. And this car is anything but. Stupid name though, like Outback all-wheel drive. Was there a budget cut in marketing? Like, Subaru SUVs are all-wheel drive, unlike competitors from Mazda, Toyota, Hyundai and Kia. Poverty Outback gets the big centre screen, 11.6 inches. Yes, portrait orientation too, that's interesting. They're bucking that landscape trend. Plus, virtually all of the safety systems are standard in Outback, which admittedly are a little intrusive and somewhat frustrating at times. Nature of the beast. Poverty Outback is essentially fully loaded on safety, including driver monitoring and autonomous emergency steering, which I did not test. I just paid attention while I drove instead because, hey, I'm just funny like that. And look, when the chips are down, okay, you actually do really want all of that technology available, slamming the window shut on the Grim Reaper's friggin' fingers. So there's that. This is one area where Outback shines. It really delivers safety across the range. LED lighting too, like LED headlamps, turn signals and daytime running lights, even in poverty class. Yes! There are so many competitors with actual poverty headlamps, the anorexic centre screen, and the safety pack still kind of optional or minimum required on the base model. So, respect to Subaru there for packing all of that stuff in for the basic price and remaining competitive. And let's not forget they're all-wheel drive, and that means a lot of additional hardware down there. 2,000 kilos of brake towing capacity too, and the CVT's got manual mode if you enjoy driving like that from time to time. Plus, there is 213 millimetres of actual ground clearance, so, while it's not a full-on blue singlet low-range wanking chariot, I'm looking at you, owner of a Nissan Patrol with a 3-inch lift and a long-range lubricant tank or something. You do stand half a chance of making it to roughly half, I estimate, of the 428 officially gazetted Dingo Piss Creeks in the federal Dingo Piss Creek registry in your new Outback. If that's where you really want to take the family. If you want to inflict that on them, have at it, dude. However, for balance, we do have these things now. They're called hotels, sometimes even resorts, where you can drink fruit juice and vodka out of a tall glass with a little bamboo umbrella in the top, while hotties in bikinis just glide on past 24/7. Just saying, dude, it's an alternative. My biggest problem with Subaru Outback just ahead, and then two amazing quirks in the model lineup. But right now, OLIGHT is having a sale from 8 PM tonight up to 30% off. Warrior X Pro in limited edition Desert Sunset. Very sexy torch indeed. Think you'd agree. Like, dude, you know, if a horde of frigging zombies sends you an invite to their apocalypse and, you know, drinks, I suppose, next Tuesday evening, and you stupidly accept, lay out your slaying suit and get your Warrior X Pro on the friggin' charger would be my advice. Just right, you know, 2100 lumens. That's enough to wake the dead. And, I guess, for unexpected apocalypses, or is that apocalypse? I always get them asked about. I don't know. I'd have to do actual research. Like, who's got time? For impromptu apocalypse of this nature, the Ocean Camo, it is a bit disco, isn't it? But the Ocean Camo M2R Pro Warrior forms somewhat less of a bulge in the trousers, and yet it will still take chunks off some unforeseen zombie's face when it's not pumping, you know, 1800 lumens into its undead visage. So that's nice. You can also freeze it and drop it on concrete and parry Uma Thurman's katana like that and throw it in the water with complete impunity. So there's that. I'd have to fact check that about, you know, parrying Uma Thurman's katana. That sounds like bullshit to me, but everything else is true. OLIGHT also does very sophisticated packaging, if that kind of thing matters to you. It's all about the magnets. Just right for a tactical mummy. I'm thinking kind of, you know, Linda Hamilton from Dark Fate, but somewhat more of a cougar. Anyway, Mother's Day is imminent, dude. It always pays to lock and load there, if you want to remain in the will, kind of thing. And the magnetic USB charging on OLIGHT flashlights, also frigging awesome. Especially useful in the car, redistributing undergarments, etc. Like, there's a million uses for flashlights such as these. This little one's really nice too, the Baton 3. It's got its own charging case. The case is a recharger that does like 2.7 recharges, and there's no excuse ever for not carrying something that small. Even in the tiniest of handbags, and this is an area in which obviously I have some experience. Link in the description. And, dude, if you missed the sale because you're not subscribed to this fine channel and you haven't bothered with the friggin' bell notification, 10% off for you afterwards using the code AEJC10, and don't ever let this happen again. It'll be our little secret. Link in the description. Senior executive Subaru dudes say the engine is 90% new, but you smell that? I'm getting a distinct whiff of marketing department apropos of that claim. Such an unmistakable odour. Good thing we didn't step in it. But I'm really on the fence about this engine. Like, it's still 2.5 litres and Atmo and a boxer, and I'm sure it's perfectly adequate for 90% of Subaru Outback owners. Maybe more than you need even, on most days ending in Y. It's refined, but frankly, mediocre. Adequate, meaning it's exactly what a lot of people either need or want. Speaking personally, however, I am just not one of those people, dude. Like, I'll take more every time. I did take more. I've owned 2 WRXs from new and a Forester XT as well. All were awesome, trouble-free cars, and they had performance. They gave me extra. It is therefore, in my view, a dead set shame that they did not make the 2.4 litre turbo petrol engine available here, as it is in America. That's a real step backwards. They dropped the 3.6 and they did not replace it with anything punchy or otherwise inspirational or aspirational. So there's no longer a performance option on the table for Outback in Australia. And whoever made that call, like, hang your head in shame, dude. Some people want more than mediocre performance, and I should know because I am one of those people. They did this with the Forester too, like they killed the ridiculously compelling and fun Forester XT. I just think they need a bit more passion in the boardroom over at Subaru Central. This is my biggest criticism of this vehicle, and frankly, it will not affect 80 to 90% of the people who buy it. Centre screen, like, it's big, but like a lot of car maker integrations, they could learn a lot about being slick at the GUI from Apple and or Google. Back in positive territory now, luggage space. Winner. Length is the most useful dimension, of course, as the aspiring actress famously counselled the Cardinal on being back in the boot. And Outback offers heaps of that. Frankly, size really does matter, and Outback really packs it in. But overall, what I'm saying is here that I did not feel like a second-class citizen at all driving the quote-unquote poverty Outback. Quite the opposite. Recommended drive-away price is about 45 grand, Australia, for the poverty, all-wheel drive, whatever you want to call it. But you spend about 5 grand more and you buy the Sport and you get a bunch of convenience features like sat-nav. Pro tip there, Google Maps is simply better every time. Plus different 18-inch alloys on the Sport, front and side view cameras as well, 4 heated seats, like 4, and a hands-free powered tailgate. Oh, and sports pedals. Be still, my beating heart. Love those sports pedals. That's on the mid-spec Outback all-wheel drive Sport for about $49,500. Drive away, undiscounted, Australia. Perversely enough, you lose the roof rails with their integrated crossbars if you step up to the Sport, and that's one of Outback's cleverest features. These are standard on poverty, but not on Sport, and they come back on the top spec Touring. But they're not there on the Sport, right? So you can take the family to the snow and enjoy those toasty heated seats ×4 in your Sport, but just remember to leave the friggin' skis behind, dude, unless you purchase a set of crossbars separately. Interesting product planning decision there, to which Subaru would retort, buy the crossbars, dude, non-Sport, which is targeted at people with a more sporty lifestyle. The crossbars that we will sell you separately have a higher load rating, so take that, critic. Of course, if you hurl the budget into the weeds, you are looking at $3,500 more for the Pimp's Cadillac of Outbacks, which is called the all-wheel drive Touring, and that will cost you about $53,000 undiscounted drive away, Australia. This is a lot cheaper than, for example, a fully loaded Santa Fe or Sorrento, although admittedly these two, and the CX-9 all offer you 7 seats, however infrequently you may choose to use them. You also get leather on Touring, and I don't mind a bit of leather. Leather accents, actually, which I guess is kind of like trying to speak inside a GIMP mask, I suppose. Please excuse my atrocious leather accent. The zipper is stuck. Definitely not a hit with the vegans, the leather accent. Plus, there's an electric sunroof as well, fat beats from Harman Kardon, a CD player, perversely, for your antique music, or perhaps you don't believe in the internet. A friggin' CD player. Really? Who actually still uses CDs? Line yourselves up and please don't vote. Why not also, I have to ask, a telephone with a rotary dialer? I'd like to see one of those in there, just for old time's sake, on the top spec Touring, just so we know exactly who the target market is. Plus, there's a heated steering wheel, dual memory driver's seat, glossy alloys, but still 18s. 18s across the range, actually. No ventilation on those seats, though, for our long, hot, sticky, sweaty summers. Missed opportunity there. On balance, though, I'd suggest Outback is a net evolution for Subaru. Kind of long-awaited, but a proper step forward in most respects. Subaru does have its bolted-on fans, too. There's a lot of people who will only ever buy another Outback. Like, they don't shop around. It's a new Outback until you prize the keys from my cold, dead fingers. They just don't shop around, these people. The symmetrical all-wheel drive and the awesome customer care, it certainly builds loyalty long-term. That's really what Subaru's done here. They went from obscurity to bolted-on fans by doing just those things. Outback has a lot of appeal, frankly, especially if you are in club conservative. And a lot of people are, and hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But the passion deficit, it's a thing, right? It kills brands long term. Like, just look at Honda and Nissan, both having near-death experiences today. I think some other brands, notably Hyundai and Kia, are really taking the fight to Subaru right now, and their incremental evolution is proceeding at a faster rate than Subaru's, at least insofar as I can tell. And maybe that's not a problem today, okay? But if the trend continues, exacerbated by Subaru's current passion deficit, there is a risk of being overtaken in the medium term. Even bolted-on customers can become somewhat detached over time. Like, you know that expression, be the change you wish to see in the world? I think Subaru needs to channel its inner product planning Gandhi on this and reverse the tide on passion, right? If only to protect the terrain it has fought so hard to occupy today. Outback is a really good SUV, don't get me wrong. The value proposition is solid and the company is awesome at customer care. And I don't say that about every vehicle, as you know. In fact, Outback is the right SUV for a great many people out there. It's just unfortunately not quite as good as it otherwise might have been.